Welcome back to another episode of Wearable Takeover. I am Coach L, also known as Lakeisha Greenwade, your host, founder, CEO of Wearable Tech Ventures. And I'm really excited because at the time that we're recording this, there's a lot of great things happening on the East Coast. And so hence I have to wear a little bit of shirt here, that says Brooklyn, representing Spike Lee, of course, who is an ambassador for the Meta wearables. But there's a lot of excitement going on in New York based off of the NBA championship. And so this episode is special because now we're bringing the West Coast meets the East Coast. And so we're going all the way out west, even though we're partying over here on the East Coast. And we have an amazing founder that we want to introduce you to today, based out of Seattle. So there's so much that this founder has to offer. We may have to do another episode, but I want to start by introducing you to Sirisha Adimatyam of Innovosens. How are you doing, Sirisha?
Doing great, Lakeisha. Thanks for having me here. Thanks for being with us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Sirisha, tell us, we know that we're going to learn a little bit about Innovosens, but tell us about how did you get to the point of even engaging in the segment of wearable tech?
I think it's a long story short. I mean, I started this as a medtech journey and then pivoted into health, wellness, and fitness, and figured out the requirement for heat-related illnesses, heat-related stress, and the missing protocols typically for athletes, where hydration monitoring is the key element, and people just end up chugging anything and everything that's off the shelf. So that's where I stepped into it. But wearables have been my passion all throughout my startup journey, and I've been into this journey for almost 8 9 years now.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay. So we're talking a little bit about hydration, wearables, and the impact on athletes. And as we know in the country, there's a lot happening. Of course, we just had the NBA finals. We have the World Cup that's here. And then we're also preparing for the Olympics coming to LA. So do you have ambitions for assisting some of these athletes over the next year to maybe 2 years with what you're creating?
Absolutely. I think that's what we want to do. And that's a liberation moment for us to be able to do within these national players. And we figured out a product market fit initially with elite sports labs, elite sports clubs, national league teams. And we have, in fact, started working with Nike coaches in Florida, where I've put the sensors on Shakari Richardson and team. I mean, that was a deja vu moment for us. We
Nice.
thought it's just a coach, who's wanting to try our sensors and our technology. But then, here we go. I mean, we put the sensors, and the idea is basically to deliver this technology to as many players as we can, because we know that this is a valuable piece of technology which can create a difference in the life of an athlete and a coach, monitoring their hydration levels. Until now, there hasn't been solutions to give them the data to tell them if the body really needs hydration or electrolytes, or if it's just that they're chugging mindlessly, right? So that's where we come in.
All right. So tell us exactly what is a Novosense, because you've already dropped a couple of gems where we're thinking like, okay, we kind of get it, helping the athletes and the coaches and making sure that people are hydrated and that they don't fall out. So if you were pitching today, what would you say is a Novosense?
Innovosense, as the name suggests, or name states, it's innovative sensors. Novo, because I've established this company back in Sweden, and I've come to US for scaling purposes.
Nice.
It's a sweat sensing technology, sweat wearable sensors, biosensors, absolutely skin friendly, which you can simply snap on the skin through physical exertion. You can collect about 20 30 microliters of sweat sample size. And then we do the magic in the app and the algorithms, where we take the body mass index into consideration, take the total body surface area into consideration, and then do calculations for hydration and electrolyte losses. And we offer information and data through our dashboards using AI extensively. So Innovosense, right from the beginning, has been established as a wearable tech company, doing the journey within IoT and sweat wearables. The first product was a non-invasive lactate, glucose, and cortisol sensor, and now we kind of pivoted within hydration and electrolyte space, understanding the need for the US market.
I love that. Okay, so how would an athlete or a coach use this? I heard you say that they can attach it to their skin. Is there a particular area of the body? And then how does that attachment work? And then is it something that athletes keep on for a certain amount of time?
Yeah. So it's a pretty simple and straightforward innovation. We are also on Kickstarter. We launched this product firstly on Kickstarter late last year. So it's a simple product. It's a microfluidic sensor, which is skin friendly. You can snap it on the forearm, on the chest, or the lower back. And then through physical exertion, we collect about an X amount of sweat sample size, and then we do the processing of that information using our algorithm in the app and the web app or dashboard that we've created for the coaches and athletes.
I love it. Okay, so once they apply it to their body, so is it a strap or is it adhesive that is on the body?
It's an adhesive.
Oh,
It's a patch.
adhesive.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. So, what's the size of it approximately? Because I heard you mention that you pivoted from the glucose market into hydration. And so some of our listeners and some of people that may be viewing this, they may be wondering, is it about the size of like the disc or the squares that people are using now for glucose monitoring, or is it a different shape or appendage?
I mean, if you've seen other sensors, I mean, if you've seen Abbott freestyle, where people put the patch on the skin, it's about the same size, or the size of an Apple Watch or a Samsung dial. That's how small the sensor is, and it's skin friendly 3 tape based adhesive, a microfluidic sensor. Um,
Outstanding. And then how long can it stay on the body? And then how does that work for replacing it, to make sure that the data is up to date?
Yeah. So these sensors, anytime you're using biological fluids to capture bioanalytes, unlike a wearable watch which uses PPG sensors. I mean, if you're using a biological fluid like sweat, saliva, urine, or blood, they all have a shorter lifetime. So this lasts about 45 minutes to an hour. I mean, as long as the athlete takes to fill it up. So based on the amount of fluid that we would be able to collect into the sweat, some take 15 minutes to fill up the entire sensor, and some take about an hour or two, to fill up the sensor. So we collect that sweat data, the sweat points on the sensor, and we calculate the time versus the time it took to fill the sensor, and we input that data into the app, through a screen, and then we study the electrolytes and hydration level, hydration loss, sweat rate, sweat loss, electrolyte losses through calorimetric sensing. That's what we do.
That's pretty amazing. So you said you've been working with Nike coaches
Yes.
with this. So what was that journey like of getting to work with the Nike coach? And then what feedback have you received with the product since then?
So I came to this market with sensor and an app, right? And then we opened up on Kickstarter, and we started talking B2C. But then through our meta marketing, we've been testing and trying a lot of combinations. If it's Florida, if it's Texas, if it's Seattle, we obviously chose warmer places because that's where the most need of hydration or heat stress related illnesses were discovered. So we were typically sending or positioning our ads, via Meta, and then through the ads, we got in a lot of traction, and also through Kickstarter. Some of these coaches saw the ads and reached out to us through DMs on Instagram, saying that they're interested, and hydration is a bigger problem for their athletes, and they have not found any solutions like this. So that's when I got in touch with a few of these coaches. They invited me to pilot this technology on the field. Little did I know that it's a team of Olympic athletes. Little did I know that I would be meeting Shakari Richardson on the field, and we got
Nice.
to put the sensors there, and we have defined a 6-week baseline program for them, where we collected the hydration data, electrolyte data, and then we combined a calorie intake, protein intake, training loads, the humidity and the temperature, and then defined very specific protocols for those athletes and built custom dashboards for them. And then we took them through a 6-week baseline, giving them trend lines of hydration and electrolyte monitoring, and then converted them to paying subscriptions. So what we have learned is basically how this works in a track and field system, and the kind of responses that they would get. And coincidentally, we found out like people are overhydrated than being under hydrated or dehydrated. We thought we are only discovering people with hydration needs, but there were cases where they said like, okay, now with these solutions we understand that this person does not need a 4 liter water bottle. I mean, they're just fine with 2 liters of water. Somebody needs 7 liters of water versus somebody's needing 4 liters, really, right? So that's the kind of learning that we've been able to give. And the value that we bring through the system is like, can you follow the trends for a 6 week period? Can you really understand how you're trending on your hydration and your electrolyte levels with a certain training loads, humidity, temperature versus exercise and calorie and protein intake? And how do you regulate them? How do you make sure that you're hitting the peak performance levels while using this information, right? So that's the learning what we were able to give to them.
That's amazing, and I love that it's not just assessing the needs for hydration, but also ensuring that athletes aren't overhydrating, and that's incredibly important, especially as they're in the heat of competition. Um, so, how are coaches using this? Are they the ones accessing the data in real time, or is it the athletes, or do they both have access to these platforms? And the reason I'm asking this is because for all the folks that are listening, we have a number of startups that have been serving the Olympics, the Winter Olympics, as well as Summer Olympics. And so we are super amped to, introduce other technologies, especially that might be a good fit for the LA Olympics coming here to the US. So uh, I know that this might be a question that a number of our coaches that are in our network may have, as relates to accessing this data, and then what kind of alerts are given, if any, so that they can address those in real time to make sure that the athletes are ready for pure performance.
Yeah, I can explain that. When we came to the US market in the beginning, we just said, like, it's an app and a sensor. That's where we have actually learned that a lot of these athletes are not allowed to carry their phones. We did one trial with the Motorsport Academy in Florida in scorching heat, and we have seen people getting rolled off of the training sessions because they're either overhydrated, dehydrated, or have loss of electrolytes, right? So they didn't have a means to monitor them. And when we gave them the app, they were not able to check the phones. They were not able to take the images of the sensors and do whatever that's needed. So the coaches came back saying that, I mean, what else can we do? I mean, we cannot simply read the data through the app. So then we said, okay, let's go back to the drawing board and see what's the best, what best we can do for the coaches. We went ahead and created a web app or a dashboard where one coach can monitor the levels of 10 different athletes or 20 different athletes, where they can
Nice.
see the profile of the hydration and electrolytes of each of the athletes. And then we are combining all that information in a 360-degree angle, collecting their protein intake, the calorie intake, their daily water and sleep level, with the training loads and humidity and temperature that they're working out or training in different sorts of settings. And we gave them a 360-degree overview in a dashboard, doing a comprehensive analysis of all the various multi-parameters together with the hydration and electrolytes, right? So this is what we have built for them. And we give access to both coaches and athletes. Athletes have access to the app where they keep getting the nudges, where they keep getting the danger alerts before the big day, where we say like, you are approaching the big day. On a Thursday they have a training day which is like all day for 8 hours, 6 hours. Then we give them nudges a day before in their app saying that you're low on your sleep levels, you're low on your hydration levels, you're low on your carb protein intake. Maybe you need to hydrate better. Maybe you need to take care of electrolyte losses, right? So these are the kind of nudges and alerts that we were able to give them, both via the app to the athletes individually, and the coaches can monitor the overall data on the dashboard. And they found it useful.
I love that your first target is competitive athletes, Olympic athletes here. I'm also seeing another market as you're talking about this. When we think about age tech, and when we're talking about folks that might be impacted by Alzheimer's and dementia, have you given consideration to that as well as another customer segment in the future?
Yeah. Lakisha, I mean, this company has a lot of history, and we won a number of grants in Europe. So we were working with UK, authorities, Eurostars, and EIC Accelerator. So we did some trials with some of our partners in UK market, and that's the next segment. We want to deep dive into athletes, coaches, and occupational health and safety markets. We also have signed up a number of firefighting teams and construction and mining teams, who all are at the risk of working in higher temperatures, extreme temperatures, and who all have the hydration related heat illnesses. So those are the first targets. And then slowly we will be marching towards health tech, and we would have to nail the approval processes to make sure that we are all good, with longevity or geriatric patients or any of the other segments typically in healthcare. We are all in, and we are discovering as a startup. We only opened up to one or two segments, but then probably the next couple of months, couple of maybe 1 to 2 years down the line, we would have captured more segments, more target audiences within healthcare as well.
This is outstanding. So tell us a little bit about that transition from Europe to the States. It sounds like you were incredibly successful at Sweden, right? Is that where you came from?
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. We have some partners in Switzerland and whatnot. Hello, folks over there. So tell us about that transition. And the reason I'm asking you this is because I believe we're going to see an increase in founders that are going from continent to continent. Like I believe a number of European founders are going to be coming this way, but then I also believe there's a number of U.S. founders that are going to be going to other continents, to grow their market or whatnot. So, what was that like from a humanistic perspective? Bringing your product, coming to the States. How did you choose Seattle, right? And what's your hopes?
Great questions. I moved to Seattle as part of my scaling journey and fundraising journey.
Hmm.
All thanks to Sweden. If anybody has an entrepreneurial bug and people want to do things in life, I think Sweden is the best place. They have supported me so much. I mean, I've applied to every single medtech grant that was available, through Swedish startup ecosystem and EU. I think the startup is typically built on the support that we have been able to get from Sweden, Lakisha. But I think as we started scaling, we saw US as a better market.
Hmm.
Europe, of course, we do have some clients, some customers. We are signed up with some European universities, etc. So the transition has been to typically open up for markets, and we saw sports tech as a bigger market, and US lives off of sport. I have a great honor and respect for athletes. My first client was Mayo Clinic. That's how I opened up to the US market, and we tested the first couple of devices and sensors with Mayo Clinic, and then started deploying the sensors and technology with some of the universities where we saw hydration as a bigger need in the US market. And that's how the transition happened from Europe to US.
We were just hosting some programming in Boston and New York, and we were talking about female founders and how you got to look at the receipts, look at all the traction that our female founders are bringing to the market. And Sarisha, you are bringing it, girl, because we're talking about all these awards and all the support you got in Europe. And then you said, oh, yeah, by the way, the Mayo Clinic was my first client. And yes, we're working with Nike coaches, and Shakari Richardson has tried our product. Folks, the proof is in the pudding right here. I think we want to learn more about Sarisha. Do you agree? I think so. We got to help her scale. Help her scale. Maybe I need to make a t-shirt that says help them scale. All right. So, considering that, tell us about what did that support look like in Europe from a funding perspective? And then ultimately, what does scaling look like for you here in the US? Make it clear for our investors.
Yeah, sure. So far, this company was built on the grant support that we've been able to get from Europe, and I do have a number of angel investors and family and friends around, which gave me the support to build the first prototypes, Lakisha. I think the support that we are expecting on the US side is like through scaling, we've figured out the product market fit. We know which hook works. We know which market, which demographic, and which geography works for these technologies. It's just a matter of proving the consistency and scaling to those levels. From a 500K to a million to $5 million in revenue with all the technologies. right? So that's what we are trying to do, and we have been very mindful of not giving away the cap table so far. We
Hmm.
just brought in capital very thoughtfully as and when we needed to develop the product and prove it and validate it. Now we are at an inflection point where we said like, okay, now we are done with research and development. We have done enough alpha beta testing, and now we have the first customers. It's time to scale, and now we are looking for right investors to step in, give us the push, help us scale, open up the different markets and segments. Just like you mentioned, can we do something in longevity? Can we do something in geriatric segment? Can we tie up with insurance companies and make this a mandatory solution for any one of these segments, right? So that's where we're looking for support, and anybody who's done sales in wearable tech, anybody who's been into health tech, we are also looking for various team members to come and join along as we're starting to scale with the company.
All right, so you heard that, folks. She says she's looking for some salespeople that have experience in wearable tech. We know some of those folks. So you want to reach out to her on LinkedIn. We'll make sure in our show notes that we have all of her contact information there. Okay, and so are you focusing on sales, or are you also looking to raise? Help us make that distinguishing factor as well for this next stage that you're in.
I am doing both. I wish I could say that, I have the luxury to just remain heads down and scale. But I've learned the hard way the last 2 years of my life in US that, anybody could sell a bag of sand if it can be marketed well. But coming from Europe, having the confidence in the product, I thought that's it. I have a great product, and people are just going to line up, buy my product. But that's not the case. I mean, we have learned that we have to scale and we have to invest in marketing.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we said, like, yes, now this is the time that we need to raise funds. We need to go to the real investors. Get that skin in the game and get the company moving with scaling process. That's
Okay.
so it's a
So
combination of both scaling and fundraising.
outstanding. So if you want to share a number with us, let us know how much you're looking to raise. We already know you're looking for some skilled salespeople out here. Go ahead and share that with us if you'd
Yeah,
like.
I'm raising a 3 million US dollars check size, which would give me a 24-month timeline. It's a pre-series A round, and then I'm willing to give away about 25% of the cap table right now. And I have solid interest, which is coming from couple of athlete turned investors. And like I mentioned before, I am pitching in Austin on 23rd June, and then I am pitching again in Miami in August, and I have series of other pitches that are lined up through Bordy. I don't know if people recognize Bordy. Bordy has been an AI agent who's been doing a great job in bringing investors to the table, Lakisha. So yeah, 3 million US dollars, pre-series A. Yeah, all in. People are interested. I think I have another 3 months to close this round. So I request the investors to come talk to us and listen into the story. And we have de-risked the technology, de-risked the market, de-risked the product market fit. We know where we are heading with this, and we are a team of engineers who understand how to build companies, how to scale them, how to make them profitable companies, right? So that's what we are.
I love it. So you heard it, folks. We're going to continue to work with her to amplify her as we're looking at her story as she's raising and scaling and getting customer testimonials and working out that marketing. Before we go, why don't you tell us a little bit about your team and then help us understand manufacturing? Is your product manufactured here in the U.S. or is it manufactured in Europe? And when we're looking at this revenue model, we want to know about that subscription so that folks are pretty clear like what they're looking at.
Yeah. So the manufacturing facilities back in India, Lakisha, I built a small team in India, to save the runway, to save the funds. I have about
Yes.
15 people team, combination of hardware and software employees, great support, all thanks to them. I couldn't have done this journey without them. I have two other founders, one responsible for hardware and one responsible for software, um,
Nice.
right? And then team of engineers who build the sensors on a daily basis, or iterating, or changing things, or shipping, working with customs, shipping chemistries on a daily basis. Every day it's a discussion if we should change the chemistry, if we should change the vendor, if we should, you know, um, do things in a different way versus procuring some of those, chips from Europe. So we are trying to scale the manufacturing process also. We have a small facility where we can produce about 500 sensors a month. And now we are trying to scale that. That's where the funds would predominantly be used both for scaling and manufacturing processes. And I do have close to 800K signed up as part of this round,
Wow.
from some of the investors.
High five. Congratulations. We are so honored to hear your story. And, as we're preparing to go, I feel like we may have you back so we can hear a little bit more about your journey and some success stories. But for other founders, and particularly female founders that are in this space, what advice could you give them along the journey?
Yeah, I believe in just continuing to do things no matter what, um, what the things are around you. I mean, not complaining, just remain heads down with your vision, remain heads down with what you want to accomplish, and universe will have to give you that support in terms of resources, in terms of funding, in terms of everything that you need. Don't give up, just stay grounded, just keep going with your vision, and things will fall in place.
I love it. And then the last thing I want to ask you is, what do you want your legacy to be?
Yeah, to be able to build this company to the level that I'm dreaming about. um, I mean, we have made promises in terms of shared values, in terms of sustainable development goals, in terms of onboarding women into leadership, not leaving a carbon footprint, to scale this company to a level where we can reach economies of scale and make healthcare available to low income groups at the fraction of the price when these sensors become so expensive otherwise, right? So can we make this technology available to the rural and remote parts of the world where people don't have access to these kind of technologies? That's what I want to build.
I love it. A beautiful vision. So if folks want to test this or if they want to get their hands on it right now, do they go to
Yes.
innovosense.com? Tell us where they go and how much can they expect to start, to pay.
Yes, I mean the sensors are being sold out. They can either reach out to the team, reach out to us on the website. I can also send you the links. We have the landing pages through which the customers are navigated, and book calls with us. I mean, we were B2C before, but we turned out to be B2B of late. So I can send you all those links that you can circulate. We welcome as many people, as they're wanting to try the technology and give us the feedback, and we're here to iterate and reiterate to make sure that this is appealing to everybody who's using the technology.
Folks, you heard it here first, right on the Wearable Takeover podcast. Do not forget the name Sirisha Adimatyam. And I'm working to make sure that my pronunciations are correct. So Sirisha, she'll continue to help me with that. But look for the links in the show notes. We are so excited about where you're going to go. Put some respect on her name, and she has the receipts that proves she is not only on to something, she is on a path to scaling something beautiful. We hope to see you featured on many of the athletes at the USA Olympics in LA 2028. And folks, we got to help her. We got to help her. So if you want to get to know more about her team, get to know more about the product, reach out to her. We'll have that here. But for now, we're going to let you know that you can catch us later. This is another episode of the Wearable Takeover as we're talking about the power of 100. Thanks, folks, and see you soon.
That's wonderful.